Let me ask you from what you hear, because you're on remotes, you're out there and you take phone calls more than we do, I would imagine. And what do you hear from the community about Joe Milton, just in general?
I feel like there's a back and forth. There's the there's the side that is like, well, he's just not going to get it done, and people have decided that. There's also the side that wants to defend, and in some ways, will go over the top in defending him and ignoring some of the responsibility on Joe's side as well for where the offense is at this point. So I find him to be a polarizing subject at this point in the season among Tennessee fans. That's whether I'm talking to friends of mine who are big Tennessee fans or whether we're taking calls or we have a text box where messages come in where fans can hit us up anytime. And I find him to be polarizing in how fans view how he's played through 4 games.
The most polarizing since Casey Clausen, maybe?
Um, I thought Dobbs was pretty polarizing. A lot of people have forgotten how much they didn't want him to play at times. So Dobbs, I thought was. I'd say Joe's more polarizing. Dobbs, to this point, though, had also accomplished more. He was a better player, to be clear, than Joe. So I don't know. I just because of Joe's hype and Joe's talent, but the lack of results to this point, and a 5-star freshman behind him on the depth chart, plus the social media era, it's always difficult to compare somebody now versus pre-social media.
Sure.
I mean, Joe is right there at the top.
Okay, so Josh, what about? I mean, I'm going to go more recent. I thought Jared Garantano was pretty darn polarizing, or was that polarizing? I think maybe everybody just wanted him benched. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe for a short window of time. The problem is it became too over the top in the hate of Jared Garantano because part of it with the depth chart, it was the opposite of this situation. We were I know there was Harrison Bailey as last year, but it started before that 2019 when there's Brian Maurer and JT Shrout, and fans were too many fans were saying no, just play the other guys. And I tried to explain, I understand your problems with Jarrett, but the backup options are worse. They are worse options, and it had nothing to do with Jarrett at that point. It's just no, play somebody else. Or I guess it was all about Jarrett. So yeah, for a short period of time, Jarrett was polarizing, and then so many people were just out.
Josh's appearance brought to you in part by Herald Group Security Solutions. Leadership experience, specialization, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques. These guys are trained for like 60 days and they want to protect your children and protect private schools. We're working towards getting them in public schools too, but they've already had a phone call and said, hey, my kid goes to a private school. I want you involved. That's Herald Group Security Solutions. They make your children safer. We've heard of the tragedies. Let's eliminate them. HeraldGRP.com. They provide security for private schools, soon to be public schools. Herald Group Security Solutions. So, Josh, do your listeners, ours don't, but do your listeners factor in that Cooper Mays, if he's in the lineup this year, brings a calming influence, brings an organizational influence from handling the line calls, or is it just, man, that Joe Milton's really terrible? I mean, I guess I'll ask the group. Okay. So Josh, if you have, what would you grade Jared? What would you grade Jared? Joe Milton to this point? Just the overall A, B, C, D, F grade.
Say C.
Caleb?
He's made some good plays, but he's not made nearly enough.
Caleb?
Yeah, I'd say C in the sense that I'd say C because of his pocket presence. Again, I don't think he's taking advantage of his strength and his legs and his ability to run the way he should.
Okay, I'll say C too. Does anybody disagree that he's a B at least if Cooper Mays is in there all month? Josh, I'll start with you.
Joe would definitely have a chance to be that. So no injury, no problem. Cooper's just out there playing.
Nothing happened. Nothing.
Yeah, I don't know how high my confidence is that that's the case, but if you tried to sell me on it, I'm sure I'd buy.
Okay, Caleb, am I crazy?
I think he'd stay at C. I don't think his stat line would be much different. I think it's just the running game in general would have been better against Florida if Cooper Mays were in there. I think Tennessee would have ran the ball a lot better.
Yeah, part of the
And
issue here, again, I know I've mentioned it already, is that the competition's been so awful. So for us to have this conversation after these kinds of games, I mean, this is as weak of a non-conference schedule as I can remember Tennessee playing. Virginia is not a Power 5 level opponent. I know what conference they play in, but they're not Power 5 quality. FCS team, and then a UTSA team that's reeling, didn't have their quarterback. So, and then Florida, I think Florida's a pretty good team, but that's at best a tough road environment. But that was also a terrible overall performance. So, yeah, that's part of the concern. That's why getting it fixed has to happen very quickly, because after this week is when the competition really heats up. This is a great chance. It's a night game at home. I'm saying something that everybody knows, you guys know very well. This is the spot against a team that's been terrible defensively. So if it doesn't happen this week, if it's not better than a C performance at home against South Carolina, then I have no confidence that we're seeing a B or better level of play the rest of the way.
Yeah, I agree with what Darla said. Come on, look at Tennessee's schedule so far. It's a joke, and it is. I feel like we're talking about an NFL team, Josh, that's 0-1 after 3 good preseason outings.
Yeah, for sure.
And not even good preseason outings. There was one bad one, Austin P.
yeah, right. Because remember the talk leading up to that game that we were all having is, okay, here's what Tennessee will do. Can they score 50? Can they score 60? When does Nico get in? How much time will he get? Will he get a whole second half? And he didn't get to play because the first team offense was so bad. As I mentioned in the article, as we continue to talk about, that wasn't all Joe, but Joe was part of it for sure. And if he had played better, they score more points and have more success. So others need to step up. And it was that game, right, where Jabari Small had a bad third down drop. Keaton had a fumble. The drop I mentioned by Dante Thornton. So other players have to step up and they have to be better. That includes the offensive line for sure. That includes the receivers helping Joe out at times. But I mentioned in the article as well. I think it's crazy that he has the strongest arm in the country playing in this offense, which can be the most explosive in the nation. And he's last in the SEC in yards per attempt. And my thought was, okay, well, maybe it's because of so many quick passes to the outside in the screen game. He's 11th in the SEC in completion percentage. That just can't be all on everybody else.
Josh, I know it's the next game. We say it's the most important game. And if you and I, and when we have done a show with regularity, I'm usually the one that's outlandish and you bring me back to the earth. But so you may have to do so right now. So I think this is the most important game right now on Tennessee's football schedule, because if they lose this game, they're going to be underdogs against Alabama and Georgia. We discussed this earlier. It's also huge in recruiting, because if you can win in the Carolinas, you can win a national championship. Tennessee proved that in 98. And I believe this is a monster game for Tennessee. And is that hyperbole or am I right?
I think it is. I think it's more because of the timing and the schedule, but also the opponent. Because if Tennessee loses this game, and they've played 2 real opponents, and they're 0-2, and the one where they're a big favorite at home in a night game where everybody's amped up and the environment is all on Tennessee side, and they can't win it, you know how long the next 2 weeks are going to be leading up to the Texas A&M game? And will there be an opportunity to right the wrong? Sure. That's not a great one, not a great opportunity. So if it were Georgia week, I wouldn't say it's as important, because Tennessee would be the underdog going into this game. So a loss would be expected. And then we'd look at future games, say, oh, well, they got South Carolina coming up. And I saw the comment, Carolina's a good team. They've had a brutal schedule. Carolina has been tested a lot more than Tennessee, and they're an okay team. I think they're a real opponent that Tennessee better be ready for. Better than Austin Peay, better than UTSA, no doubt about that, and obviously Virginia. But this is one Tennessee just has to have. And people will happily forget very quickly. Nobody's going to care about 11-2 last year if Tennessee's 0-2 in the SEC. So the next 2 weeks will be rough, and the season could get rougher because the competition is tougher after this Saturday. So got to win this one.